Hello, my name is Zachary Gorfinkel, along with the rest of my group, which is made up of Megan McNee, Hannah Falk, and Alexandra Vuich. Today, we will be focusing on the topic of student loans. There's a lot to cover when student debt is brought up in conversation. It seems like it is one of the main reasons halting recently graduated college students from starting their entry-level jobs shortly after graduation. That fear that they have is how they are going to be able to pay back those loans that they took out to go to college. Many individuals struggle for years after college to pay back these loans. The graph depicted on the screen above shows that students' loan debt is only continuing to rise and doesn't appear to slow anytime soon. In fact, tuition rates in most universities in the continental United States continue to increase every year at rates some families just can't keep up with. Next, I'd like to introduce a video called Voices of Debt, which is available to view on YouTube. The video discusses people's lack of knowledge when taking out loans and people's feelings on their loan. Individuals have different opinions on whether they regret taking out their loan for school or not. Some people believe it's worth it, but some people just completely regret it. The next speaker will provide more information on this video to come. Thank you.
I wasn't fully aware of how long that was going to take.
I'm not exactly sure how much I have to pay each month.
I just learned what my debt was.
Honestly, I don't know any of this terminology like credit, defaulting on your loans. It means nothing to me.
I do know that the interest rate was something like, I think 8%, 0.8% maybe? I don't know.
Like, I knew it, and yet at the same time, it didn't really, I didn't process it. I didn't think to myself, oh, hey, I'm gonna be in debt for the next 10 years of my life. This is great.
I just assumed that I was like, well, I'm sure I don't have that much student loan, and really every year in September and January, I just signed whatever came my way, not really looking at it, just trusting that I was being taken care of.
I really wish I knew more before I went in and got all this debt. My mother put herself through school while raising 2 boys on her own, and she is 46 years old, and she is still paying off her loans.
Any resources that I found online weren't really all that helpful. They were a little vague, and they essentially just said, you're gonna have to pay these loans back eventually with interest.
If you go to websites that teach you about debt, they're not only convoluted and condescending, but they often will ask you if you want more loans.
So clearly this video shows that most college students don't understand what comes with taking out student loans. They aren't aware of the student loan process overall, and the reality is they have no clue how to handle this amount of debt after graduating. While being proficient on social media apps, writing checks and dealing with student debt, not so much. Students have to be wondering, is college even worth all of this debt? Some of the most successful people in the world were either college dropouts or never attended college. For example, the person who created Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, dropped out of Harvard and became one of the most successful people in the world. But is this a reality that college students can look forward to? It's not really a reality to just become a self-made billionaire. The fact that the price of college is the deciding factor is just ridiculous. Student debt is the second largest debt in the nation after home mortgages. How did it get to be this way? How do they expect students to pay off such large debt when they don't even have a job secured? Young adults are able to take out $100,000 worth of student loans, but they can't even have a drink legally. So this leads to the big question, is tuition-free college actually possible? There are already changes taking place to aid students. In fact, almost 20 states around the country have made tuition-free college a reality. Since these programs are becoming more and more available, people are coming up with loopholes to earn that diploma. That includes financial aid and even part-time jobs. Not only are these students coming up with ways, parents are even coming up with ideas to make college more affordable for their children, and that is shown in the next clip.
Parents of students coming from some of suburban Chicago's most affluent high schools are legally giving up their kids to get financial aid.
The parents some of them are doctors, lawyers, real estate agents.
A ProPublica Illinois investigation discovered dozens or more cases where parents hire lawyers to petition the court to turn over guardianship to a friend or relative so the student can be declared financially independent and qualify for financial aid. A high school guidance counselor raised a red flag when one of his students was awarded a full tuition financial aid package at University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign.
He said it didn't make sense because this isn't a scholarship he had seen students from this high school get before and didn't think that this student would qualify.
The University of Illinois was alerted and notified the Department of Education and Student Aid Commission.
As Megan mentioned earlier, and as we just saw in that clip, there are literally parents giving up custody of their kids so that they can get need-based financial aid. Meanwhile, the less affluent parents of Chicago are literally selling their children in order to pay off their student loans. The parents doing this are often doctors and lawyers, real estate agents, so obviously their children are going to need a little help financially when they apply to college, right? While this is an incredibly unethical practice, it is still completely legal. This means that the money that could be going to students who actually need the aid, who actually are financially independent, is instead going to rich suburbanites who have a strong support system and then some. But that's not all.
We've also added a layer of screening to all financial aid applications from students who transferred guardianship in their senior year of high school.
So not only are these families taking aid away from students who really need it, their practices are actually making it difficult and more time-consuming for these students to get any financial aid. Since this news has come out, universities have added additional screening processes to any financial aid applicants who have changed guardianship within the last year, because applying for college isn't hard enough. For the majority of financially independent students, or even just lower and middle class students, receiving financial aid can be the difference between going to school and not. If these students are unable to receive any financial aid, and their only option is taking out thousands of dollars in student loans, only to plunge themselves further into debt, they decide it's just not worth it. Now, of course, not every student has this mindset. A lot of students decide to take out student loans and go to school. This is partially because recent surveys show that students expect to pay their student debts off within 6 years of graduating. In reality, studies have shown it will take closer to 20 years to pay off these debts. 20 years! I mean, that's longer than most college students expect to live. Seriously, everyone I know is having an existential crisis when it's time to do our FAFSA because we never expected we'd actually make it this far. Now, considering student loan debt has continued to steadily rise over the years, it's unlikely that it will stop anytime soon. So, what can students do to minimize their student debt? Well, some students have found success in selling old clothes on apps like Poshmark. Others turn to more extreme solutions, such as selling their plasma. I mean, if you're really strapped for cash, why not sell a kidney on the black market? Or hey, try stepping in front of oncoming traffic. You'll either get money from a settlement, or you'll succumb to your injuries and you won't have to pay off any student loans. It may seem like the end is nowhere in sight, but there are some realistic solutions to this overwhelming problem.
Clearly, student debt is a national issue, and for this reason, many students are realizing that state schools may be the way to go. Students at the University at Buffalo pay roughly $7,000 a year for tuition, with fees, room, and board costing a total of $25,000 per year, whereas out-of-state students pay roughly $42,000 per year. This may seem like a large sum of money, but it's nothing compared to the tuition that some private colleges and universities across America offer. According to student loan collectors, the average amount of loans that graduates leave with is $30,000. We know that some students graduate having much less than $30,000 worth of debt, but some have more than 6 figures worth of debt. Since we know that tuition-free college is possible, this amount of debt seems impossible and unbearable for young professionals to bear. And this debt hinders them from leaving home and entering the job market. You shouldn't have to legally give up your child in order to get financial aid. President Trump has said several times that he does not believe in student loan forgiveness, a program that has only helped roughly 1% of college graduates with debt. We don't know what November's election will bring in terms of student loan forgiveness, but we do know that if it's going to take you a lifetime to pay off your student debt, you might as well make sure that you're taking advantage of everything your college has to offer. Whether it be the good, the bad, or the interesting, make sure you're getting your money's worth.